Welcome to Health News and Views, a podcast dedicated to bringing some clarity to the health disparities in the Black and Brown communities. If you believe there's a connection between food, sickness, and health, then you're in the right place. Let's begin the process of unraveling the truth. And now, your host, Lynn Pete.
Greetings and welcome back to another episode of Health News and Views, Food, the Final Frontier. I'm your host, Lynn Pete. Well, thanks for stopping by. Today we're reporting on a health issue that continues to be an equal opportunity threat to our health in our community and maybe even the nation. The American Heart Association stated that the high rate of blood pressure. They're saying that Black or African American adults, 55% of us, have high blood pressure, also known as hypertension. You know what that means? If it's not me, it's you. But first, the subject matter provided on this podcast or for any of our other published documents is for informational purposes only. Food, the Final Frontier, and our partner, Health News and Views.info. We do not attempt to treat, diagnose, or cure any disease or condition. Always check with your healthcare provider before making any lifestyle, dietary, or prescription drug changes. Here's a thought that I want you to consider about measurements. We can determine the length, the height, and the width of any object with a ruler. We can determine the weight of an object with a scale. We can detect the speed of a moving vehicle with a speedometer. If you're walking, you can have an odometer to track how many steps you're actually taking. If your temperature is high or low, that can be checked with a thermometer. But when we need to check our blood pressure, we need to have a sphygmomanometer. And this instrument is also known as a blood pressure cuff, okay? And it will provide two very important numbers that we need to measure both our vitality and even our morbidity. Well, the top number is called a systolic number, and that measures the pressure in your arteries when your heart beats and pumps blood. And the second number is a diastolic pressure, which measures the pressure when your heart rests between beats. And what does all this mean? Well, as African Americans, we top the charts with the highest number of citizens in the country that carry this phenomena of having 55% of its population with high blood pressure. Well, we didn't ask for it, but we have it. Well, what are you going to do about it? Well, it means not knowing your numbers. It's just not cool. If we have this condition, unchecked and uncontrolled blood pressure may be the ticking time bomb that has no sound and whose symptoms may be mild to moderate or maybe not at all. Well, many Americans assume that they understand what normal blood pressure is, and that false confidence could be deadly. How about you? Do you know your numbers? Do you know your loved ones' numbers? We all need to know what those numbers are. See, such false confidence about, I think I'm okay, I don't eat what they eat, I'm really in good health. But a false confidence can be harmful, and it may prevent people from seeking care for high blood pressure. Like me, I thought I did everything pretty much healthy, but I didn't know my numbers. I knew my numbers. I ignored them. I said, it'll come back down. I'm just overly excited. Or I have a lot on my plate. That was my biggest one. Well, after all, if you think it's normal, you probably won't bother to even go to the doctor or even ask about your blood pressure. And this information came according to the health policies at University of Southern California. And it's evidence-based. Many Americans wrongly assume they understand what normal blood pressure is, and that a false confidence really could be deadly. The FDA says that about 70% of all Americans, not just African Americans, but all Americans, so within that segment of Americans, for us to have 55% of our population in the Black community with high blood pressure, the FDA says 70% of all Americans will have high blood pressure in their lifetime. And here's the clincher. Only 1 in 4 patients with hypertension have their blood pressure under control. That's a lot of people. And because high blood pressure usually has no symptoms, you could already have it without knowing it. While 70% of the U.S. may have high blood pressure in their lifetime, in the Black community, 55% of us already have it. So what are we going to do about it? Well, they call it a silent killer. There's a reason for that, too. It's often called the silent killer, typically. Again, because it has no symptoms until it causes significant damage. What kind of damage are we talking about here? Damage that may manifest itself as a stroke, heart attack, diabetes, being overweight or obese. And these are primary and secondary hypertension. Well, it looms in, okay, let's see if any of these apply to you. It looms in the dizziness we shake off. It's just a little lightheadedness. I need to go get something to eat, or I just got up too quickly. It could be the dizziness. It could be the nausea, the blurred vision. These symptoms could be the result of blood vessel damage caused by increased pressure in the arterial walls. Oh, maybe it's the headache we dismiss with some kind of over-the-counter medication, like an aspirin or acetaminophen or maybe ibuprofen. And these headaches come and go, but they might be due to the increased pressure in the blood vessels within the brain. Oh, that excess weight gain? Oh, that's nothing. It comes and it goes. But excess weight gain and a change in eating habits cause obesity and oftentimes being overweight. And there are significant risk factors for primary hypertension. It could be the continuous barrage of stress we find ourselves in, just living on a daily basis. Stressors may include a job, a lack of a job, children, maybe even grandchildren. How about aging parents? Unfair economic practices in housing, financing, and education that all play a part in our health outcomes and may seem that they are just the everyday pressures of life. All that stress has a physical impact. It raises the blood pressure over time. Well, okay, let's combine that with less access to health care, and we're looking at a perfect storm. We have become the poster child for this disease. There's no safety net. This is something I had to get a grip with too. And here's the thing, knowing your blood pressure numbers could actually save your life. Mine were checked, but not controlled. Because what? I wasn't taking the medication as I should have. I thought I was eating right. But how many garlic cloves are you supposed to eat in one sitting to help reduce down? You know, we have a lot of information out there. I subscribe to it too, that there are natural ways of lowering our blood pressure. But if it's going to be at the detriment of my health, then I will err on the side of the medication until I can find another way to make sure that my arteries are clear. So if you're not checking your blood pressure regularly, you might be walking around with your own ticking time bomb. And when it hits us, it tends to be more severe. And guess what? It also comes in our younger ages. This makes it even more critical for us to keep track of our numbers. The same way we say, how are you doing? How are those numbers? And why does this matter? Because high blood pressure can lead to a host of serious health issues like heart disease, yes, high blood pressure, strokes because of high blood pressure, kidney failure, that means a dialysis machine to do the job that your kidneys once were able to do. Now the machine has to do that. Or even vision loss, which comes in the form of possible glaucoma because the pressure is just too much for even your vision. It's not just about feeling tired or having a headache. We're talking about life-threatening conditions that can drastically reduce your quality of life. Think of this may have. You're 35, you feel fine, but suddenly you're in the ER with chest pain, and the doctors tell you it's a heart attack. And it's because you've had uncontrolled blood pressure for years. This isn't just a scary story. It's reality for way too many young people in our community. And I oftentimes ask, it was a grief counseling session, I would ask what happened to the other parent. And here at 35, at 37, at 33, the male parent died of a heart attack brought on by what? Hypertension and diabetes. We don't have to go out like this, folks. Doesn't make any sense. What are we going to do first? We have some risk factors there. Let's talk about the diet. Many of us did grow up eating foods that are high in fats and salts and sugars. It tastes good, but not really good for us. Too much sodium can skyrocket your blood pressure. Now, by the way, that's not the salt that you added to your food. It would be the food that you brought home with you, that you did not cook yourself, and the folks who cooked it had no idea that you had an issue and that possibly you were salt sensitive. So you're going to have to prepare your own food. Let's start with that. And let's start with the stress eating, because I know I did that too. Food can replace a whole lot of people and problems. You do know that, right? And it's our go-to, food tends to be our go-to neutralizer and de-stressor. Yes? Okay. No, we can't do that. We have to find other ways to de-stress. Chronic stress over time might contribute to the development of hypertension through unhealthy coping mechanisms such as overeating, smoking, excessive alcohol consumption, and like that. So if you smoke, as I did, you have to quit, as I did. And that's because tobacco use and smoking are potent risk factors for primary hypertension. And these habits can raise the blood pressure temporarily. And the chemicals in the tobacco can damage your arteries, leading to elevated blood pressure levels over time. Heavy consumption of alcohol can cause hypertension, while certain recreational drugs can cause dangerous spikes in our blood pressure too. Moderation in alcohol and avoidance of illicit drugs are essential for maintaining a healthy blood pressure level. So now, I get it. No one likes to take medications, particularly when you don't feel sick. But if the doctor prescribes blood pressure meds, it's crucial to take them as directed. I found that out after an overnight stay at the hospital myself. I was okay recently. Okay, we'll call it stress. Think of it this way. The medication, and it's interesting because it was a physical therapist, not even the doctors or nurses who kept talking to me, that actually made it make sense. And she said that if you're not taking the medication at the same time every day, it doesn't have a chance to really work in your system. So think of your medication as a shield. It's protecting your heart, your brain, and your kidneys from damage of high blood pressure. And yes, there are natural and alternative means to maintaining a normal blood pressure, but get the medical help first so you'll know what the numbers are and get control. Then making some lifestyle changes can be incorporated maybe after evidence-based help has been achieved, okay? Make an appointment with your healthcare provider to get a blood pressure check today if you haven't already. And if you already know you have blood pressure, commit to taking those medications, eating healthier, and finding ways to manage your stress. Exercise like walking is a great way to begin the journey to a better you. Remember that knowledge is power, especially when it comes to your health. High blood pressure doesn't have to control your life. You can take control by knowing your numbers and following through with your treatment. Stay tuned for other helpful hints from our content contributors. Until next time, stay informed and stay healthy. Remember, don't wish it was easier. Just wish you were better. And don't wish for less problems. Just wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge. Wish for more wisdom. Thanks, Jim Rohn. See you the next time. Health News and Views, Food, the Final Frontier. Please share and subscribe. Peace.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Health News and Views. Join us again next time as we continue to explore the correlation between food, sickness, and health. If you like the show, please subscribe and leave a review for Lynn. She would love to hear your comments. Thanks again for listening, and remember, food is the final frontier.